Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some people walk through life without noticing much. They can go to a party and not feel the undercurrent of tension. They can smile at someone and not sense the sadness behind their eyes. But not you. You've always seen too much, even when you tried not to. Even when you begged to just be normal for one day. To stop overthinking, stop overfeeling, stop being so aware of everything. But that sight, that inner vision, that emotional depth, it wasn't a mistake. It was a marking. You weren't made to walk blindly. You were made to walk ahead. It's an important part of your calling, and that's why your life has often felt heavier than most. Because seeing too much is a kind of weight. It's the weight of noticing what others miss, of caring about things people laugh off, of holding questions nobody around you wants to ask out loud. You've felt people's shifts before they happened. You've sensed betrayals before they unfolded. You've carried emotions that didn't even belong to you, and had to sort through which ones were yours and which ones you were just picking up. That's not hypersensitivity. That's a calling. And yes, it's a blessing. But sometimes it gets heavy. Let's talk about the cost of it for a moment, because this kind of sight doesn't come for free. It cost you relationships, because you couldn't ignore red flags they called just personality. It cost you peace, because even in calm rooms, you could feel the storm brewing underneath. It even cost you your sense of belonging, because while others laughed and relaxed, you were scanning the energy in the room like your spirit was on security duty. You didn't ask for that, but it came with who you are. And maybe you've wondered, why would God give me this kind of sensitivity and then place me around people who don't see it, who don't get it? Because He wasn't training you to fit in. He was training you to lead spiritually. Let me say something you probably never heard. You don't see too much. You see what others have been avoiding. You just happen to see it early. You feel it fully, and you carry it honestly. That's why people have misunderstood you. They thought you were dramatic, too much, too intense, too emotional. But what they didn't realize is you weren't reacting to what they could see. You were responding to what they were still blind to. And that's lonely. Let's not pretend it isn't. It's isolating to know things you can't explain, to feel warnings you can't put into words, to walk into a room and feel like your body knows something your mouth doesn't know how to say. But that's not paranoia. It's discernment, and God trusted you with it. There's an image I want to leave with you. Imagine a person standing on a mountain while everyone else is still down in the valley. From that height, you see further. You see the storm coming. You see the shift in the clouds. You see danger the others don't yet feel. But no one believes you. Because from where they are, everything looks fine. That's you. You weren't put on the mountain to be admired. You were placed there to warn, to guide, to stand in the gap. And yes, it's lonely up there sometimes. But heaven is with you at that height. And that view, it's proof of your assignment. So no, you're not too sensitive. You're anointed with sight. And while it may have made life harder, it also means you're trusted with more. God doesn't give this kind of vision to someone He plans to keep in shallow water. You've been sent to the deep. And that's why you've been through what you've been through. That's why your prayers hit different. That's why you feel called even when nobody's calling your name. Because God knows the ones who see this much are the ones who can carry that much. Let's talk about your eyes for a moment. Not the color, not the shape. I mean the weight of them. Because whether you've noticed or not, your gaze carries truth. People look away when you hold eye contact too long. Not because you're intimidating, but because your eyes search deeper than they're ready to go. They feel exposed because you're not just looking at them. You're reading the patterns. You're sensing the gap between what they're saying and what they actually mean. And that right there, that's part of your assignment. You don't just see events, you see roots, you see cycles. You see what created the wound, not just the behavior growing out of it. And yes, it's exhausting sometimes, because seeing too much means you're often grieving things while others are still celebrating them. You already saw how that relationship would end, how that decision would unravel, how that person wasn't what they seemed, and you had to carry that knowing while everyone else was still clapping. But let me say this to your heart. That kind of sight doesn't mean you're cursed. It means you're positioned. You are the kind of soul that heaven can trust to stand in places where others go blind, to speak up before it's popular, to pull away before it's praised. That's why your life has never been slow or small, why your lessons came earlier, why you had to learn discernment in situations that didn't even feel fair. It was never just about protecting yourself. It was about learning how to see what can't be Googled, how to sense what hasn't happened yet, and carry that insight without turning bitter. Because yes, we both know, this kind of sight can harden people. It can make them cold, guarded, distrustful. It can make you want to close your eyes just to feel peace again. But that's not what you've done. You've chosen something holier. You've chosen to stay open, to keep showing up with love, even after being disappointed, to keep listening to your gut, even when people laugh at you for being deep. That's courage. That's spiritual leadership. That's kingdom responsibility. Let me say something clearly. You are not struggling because you're weak. You are stretched because you're trusted. The spiritual weight you carry, it's not some vague burden. It's the calling of a person God uses to spot what others walk past, to say what others won't say, to feel what others don't have the capacity to hold. And that's not for applause, it's for alignment. There are people in your life right now who feel strangely convicted in your presence, even when you say nothing. That's not because you're judgmental. It's because your energy reminds them of what they've been avoiding. You carry the frequency of truth. Even your silence speaks because you've done the work. You've sat with your pain. You've asked God the hard questions. You've cried over things that others would have just stuffed away and forgotten. So when you enter a space, you don't bring opinions. You bring discernment. You bring peace that was earned. You bring perspective that was fought for. And whether people say it or not, they feel the shift. That's why some are drawn to you, and that's why others avoid you altogether. It's not personal, it's spiritual recognition. God placed this kind of depth in you because He knows you won't abuse it. You won't use what you see to shame people. You won't manipulate outcomes just because you sensed how things might unfold. He gave you vision because you've proven you carry compassion alongside it. And that makes you rare. You might be in a season right now where you're not saying much, not explaining yourself anymore, not warning people who don't want to be helped. That's okay. There's a difference between being silent and being settled. And you, my friend, are becoming deeply settled in who you are. You're learning that you don't have to fix everything you see. Some things are just meant to be witnessed and surrendered. That's wisdom, that's maturity, and that's how heaven knows you're ready for the next level. So what now? Now, God begins to surround you with people who don't make you shrink, who don't treat your insight like it's strange, who don't call your discernment too much. Now, God starts matching the weight you carry with the assignment you've been sensing. Now, doors that were shut, because the timing wasn't right, begin to quietly open. And when they do, you'll walk through with peace, because you'll recognize that they weren't delays. They were protections, until your sight matured into wisdom. So the next time you wonder why you feel so much, so soon, so deeply, remember this: you see too much because you were called to carry what others can't even name yet. And God is building around that site right now. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.